everybody, and welcome to OutKick Bets the Show on this Wednesday. I am your host, Kayla Knierim. Joining me is my co-host, Mr. Arky Shea. Arky, how is our Wednesday thus far, my friend?
What it is, girlfriend? We're having a good time on this Wednesday. Man, I am so psyched to be up here doing this here program. It is a beautiful day, a crisp, cool fall day in North Alabama, and I could not be more excited to try to make some more money tonight because every day is a chance to get a little bit richer.
This is true. Have you had your coffee? Are you a coffee drinker? I love the energy you're bringing today so far.
Yeah, I hate coffee. So, yeah, I'm just a naturally optimistic and happy kind of fella.
Lucky for us all. All right, we are going to start things off with a bet last night, where we always begin. Arky, how did the night go for you? Any games you want to hit on in particular?
I think the night went okay, but I did have to watch the worst game maybe I've ever seen in basketball last night. And
shoot.
I am not exaggerating. Texas Tech beat Tennessee 57-52 in a game that was really worth not even a streaming service, to be honest with you, and that was on one of the main cable channels last night. Yeah, it was rough, Kayla. Like, at one point, the score was 39-38 with 3.5 minutes to go in the game. Yeah, it was that bad.
Not good.
Yeah, both teams combined for about that game went to overtime. That's how it got to 57-52. And both teams combined to go 10 of 64 from three. 10 of 64.
Did you watch this game in its entirety?
I do not appreciate the fact that you reminded me I wasted my night last night by doing that. Yes. Wow. That was
gold star for you.
It was an awful game. Both teams combined from the field overall to go 28.5% from the field. It was a game that did not deserve overtime. They should have just called it after regulation a tie and just moved on. That was a bad game. Texas Tech ends up covering the spread. Tennessee at -3, but still, that game was not worth TV. It was not.
That's when you know you really love sports.
Yeah, but like it was the Jimmy V Classic. It was on main TV.
That's true.
I thought it'd be a good way to start my evening of sports watching, and it turned out I should have probably just started listening to Nails on a Chalkboard for 2.5 hours.
I think Real Housewives was on. You could have watched that.
Well, you got to send me a text reminder next time. I didn't know that.
Okay. Next time I will.
Yeah, thank you. Jeez.
You're welcome. All right, I'm going to head over to the game I was looking at, which was Lakers-Celtics. I took the Lakers -2.5, and it hit because the Lakers won 117-102. Offense clicked, thank goodness. The beloved and long-standing rivalry was controlled by the Lakers, especially in that third quarter when they really started to run away with it. They officially split their series for the year 1-1. Growing up a Lakers fan and knowing the significance of this rivalry, Russ understood the assignment last night and led the Lakers in scoring right behind LeBron. LeBron with a team high of 30 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, while Westbrook had 24 points, 15 in the third quarter, might I add. 3 rebounds and 11 assists. And by the way, Anthony Davis finished with 17 points and 16 rebounds. Bro. For what it's worth, Jason Tatum led Boston with 34 points, 8 rebounds, and 3 assists. And for the icing on the cake, Nicholas Braun, who plays Greg on Succession, who I am mildly obsessed with, was sitting courtside. So that just was a really great night for the Lake Show all around. Are you a Succession fan, Arky?
Yeah, I've seen the first couple of seasons. I haven't caught up. I saw that J-Lo was courtside with Ben Affleck, too, in that game.
What? How did I miss that?
Yeah, well, they may not be courtside. They may be a couple rows up, but they were at that game, absolutely.
All the stars were out for this one.
Yeah,
we love this rivalry.
Yeah, it's the two franchises with the most world championships. Why not?
Yeah. I missed that. I missed it when it was super competitive just a few years back. But maybe we'll get there again soon. Who knows?
Yeah, good on them, hopefully.
All right, for our game of the day, we're going to stick to the NBA. We are looking at the Bucks, who are 16-9, 7-5 on the road. They will be taking a trip to Miami. The Heat are 14-11, 6-4 at home. Miami is the 4.5 underdog at home. So, Arky, how are you playing this one?
Well, so I pay attention to the biggest story out of this game, which is there will be no Jimmy Butler tonight.
Yeah.
He re-injured his tailbone early in the game against Memphis when he fell going up toward the basket, and be honest with you, he hobbled and still tried to play. I think he played like 25 minutes total in that game, but he just wasn't the same. I think he had 10 points to end that game against Memphis, and he's going to be out in the next game afterwards, which is this one. And the Heat just honestly aren't the same without Jimmy Butler. They've lost 4 of the last 5 games without him, and one of those was with him. I should say that 5th game was with him. He just was hobbled, that Memphis game I was mentioning. And listen, you can be as happy as you want to love on someone like Tyler Herro and how good he has been. He's not the leader of this team. It's JB. And Jimmy Butler has the Miami Heat go. And so since he is not on this court, I pay attention then to the spread, which is 4.5, as you mentioned. It's going to keep going up and up, 5, 6. I think if you could get it before it gets to 7, I think you're still going to be good on the Milwaukee side for that spread. So I'm going to go ahead and take it to 4.5 that I got it when it opened up. But I also know that, let's pay attention to what Milwaukee is, right? As much as there's no Jimmy Butler, there is a Giannis Antetokounmpo that's going to be playing, right? And that guy is at worst 3rd in the MVP voting right now. At worst case. And you can make a very good case he should be getting the top votes.
Doing pretty well.
This year. Absolutely. So I think if you watch Giannis tonight, you're going to see a nice, relatively simple and easy night. Probably a night like 24 and 12 kind of night from him.
Casual.
And, he's a guy. He leads the league in points per minute. He may not have to play that many minutes tonight for Milwaukee to be able to escape with the victory. So I like Milwaukee if I can get the number before I get it to 7. So I'll take it at the -4.5. And I'm going to lean toward the under because Miami gets all the credit for having this really gritty defense, right? And for good reason, right? They're the number 4 team in the league when it comes to defense. But this is also a really competitive and good Milwaukee defense when they want to play that way. And they're 3rd in the league in opponent field goal percentage, which is going to be good tonight because, again, shorthanded are going to be the Miami Heat. So I think all that plays well for us when we go to the Bucks -4.5, and I'm going to take the under 217 tonight in Miami too. And I think Milwaukee just tries to get out there with the win and goes forward to the next game.
All right, I'm hanging right there with you. First and foremost, though, happy birthday to Giannis, who turned 27 on Monday, which means we were both Sagittariuses, and I love that for us. This is a quick turnaround as these two teams just went head-to-head in Milwaukee on Saturday, though, in which the Bucks came out on top 124-102, and it will mark the 3rd game between them this season. Miami did pick up the win in their first game of the season in that opener. To make matters worse for Miami, as you said, Jimmy Butler, who is Miami's leading scorer, is listed as out for the game with that tailbone injury. Bam, who leads the team in rebounds, is also out 4 to 6 weeks after undergoing thumb surgery. Not great for the Heat. These two teams have had the exact opposite outcomes in their last 5 games, with the Heat dropping 4 of their last 5, as the Bucks have won 4 of their last 5, and 10 of their last 11. So, needless to say, Milwaukee is rolling. This will be the start of a 4-game road trip for the Bucks, and honestly, I don't see the road trip or the road game making much of a difference in this one for Milwaukee. Giannis, of course, leads the team in points and rebounds at 27 and 11, while Jrue Holiday puts up the most assists, averaging 6.2. And because who doesn't love a good Grayson Allen stat, Arky? I do. He leads the Bucks. He leads the Bucks in 3-point shooting, averaging 3.1 a game. How about that? Good for Grayson. Milwaukee is 10-9 against the spread when favored, while Miami is 6-1 against the spread as the dogs. The Heat started out the season so hot. Unfortunately, injuries have gotten the better of them recently. So with all of that said, I'm going to be riding with the Bucks in this one at -4.5, simply because they're playing better basketball and they are all healthy. And I'm going to stay away from the total.
That's fair. By the way, you may be the only person who's ever said, good for Grayson Allen.
I don't hate him like most people.
Yeah, there's a reason. Not that. There's a reason other people hate him. He's,
Well, the Duke factor. He's a little, I don't want to, what's the right word?
He's earned some of this reputation, let's just be honest.
That's true, that's fair. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Hopefully he's matured, since his college days, maybe.
Who cares? We don't have to like everybody, right?
We're all allowed to grow up, aren't we?
Yeah.
Okay, heading over to our spotlight matchup, we are taking a look at the Avalanche at Rangers, a little NHL action. Avalanche are 13-7-2 at the Rangers, who are 17-4-3. Colorado is the favorite here on the puck line with a total sitting at 6. Arky, who are you taking in this one?
Hark do I hear back-to-back days of in-depth hockey analysis on this here program? Is that what I'm hearing?
I think you do.
Okay, well, let's
Look
get
at
to the
us.
analysis before we say it's back-to-back that's happened. This is going to be another competitive matchup. I think you're looking at the Colorado Avalanche, who for the last couple of years, including this year, have a tremendously powerful offense. They are very, 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 very good. They're number one in the league when it comes to goals scored per game. They're number two in total goals, tied for second. But they got 4 games in hand on the number one team in the league right now. So there's a good chance they're probably going to pass that when the final totals get to that point. The wild thing about this game is that Colorado is so good offensively and so bad defensively.
Yep.
So you see a ton of goals in their games. In fact, they're second to last in save percentage this season, thanks to the Kraken, by the way. Welcome into the expansion of Kraken. So this is a really, really good matchup for the over and the 6. Now, I know the Rangers, and the reason why this total gets to stay at 6 and not go to, say, 7, for example, is because the Rangers' defense is really, really good. All right, they're 5th in the league in goals allowed per game. They don't get that many shots on goals in general. They're much more of a condensed type of offensive team. But this team that Colorado hasn't gone under 6 in like forever, it feels like.
True.
In fact, only twice in the last 14 games has the total gone under 6 at all. A couple times it's pushed. So I think we're looking at a lot of goals in this matchup tonight, and I think that for pretty good reason. Now, if we pay attention to one guy in particular, if you're going to get a chance to watch this game somewhere, it's pay attention to number 91, Nazem Kadri, who's been involved in 31 of the 91 goals that's been scored by the Avs this season. He has been their MVP this year. He is all over the place. He is a stud. So I think the Avs, I don't really have a feel for this game. I kind of would lean toward the Rangers to win this game, to be honest with you. But I haven't made a play on that. But what I have done is gone ahead and say I'm going the over 6 tonight for the Avs and Rangers because I think this is going to be just another wild night of scoring.
I didn't even read your notes, but we are totally on the same page. This will be the first time these two teams have met at MSG since March of 2020. That's crazy to think about. The Rangers are ice hot and currently on a winning streak of 7 games straight, their longest since 2015. While the Avalanche are having a very Buffalo Bills season, going win-lose, 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 win in their last 7. The Avalanche have scored 25 goals in their last 5 games, and that's including 2 losses, totaling 25 goals. And they are averaging 8.6 goals a game in their last 10 and had a season high of 50 shots on goal in their game on Monday. So yes, as you said, they are very offense happy. The Rangers have 19 goals in their last 5 games, all resulting in wins, including that big come-from-behind win over Chicago just last night in a 6-2 win. Obviously, both teams firing on offense, but they both are dealing with some issues at goalie, with the Rangers possibly having their third-string goalie in net tonight, as Avalanche's Darcy Kuemper is still listed as day-to-day. Something that could come into play tonight, though, is the fact that the Rangers have been known to draw a lot of penalties, and guess who hasn't been great at the penalty kill? That would be Colorado. So something to look out for there. The Avalanche are 9-3 against the spread in their last 12, while the Rangers are 4-2 in their last 6. As for this total of 6, Colorado has hit the over in 4 of their last 5, while the total has gone under in 4 of New York's last 6. So Colorado definitely putting up some more points. With the goalie shakeup, I kind of want to take the over, but might stay away from it since they stung me in last night's hockey game. So I don't know that I want to take the total in this one. I do worry that the Rangers are coming off a back-to-back, but I think I'm still leaning with them in this one on home ice, even with that third-string goalie. Let's keep the streak alive, Arky, and make it 8 in a row. So give me the Rangers tonight.
Straight out to win or the puck line plus 1.5?
Have to win. No, I'll do puck line.
Okay, puck line's fine. Okay.
Yes, we'll do puck line.
Pretty good considering how much we think Colorado's going to score in general.
I know. Look at us. Yeah. Turning a blind eye.
Yeah, anyway, enough hockey. Are there other sports?
The Rangers have the better record. They're at home. I just feel like, and they want to keep the streak alive. So there's a lot behind that. Yeah. All right. It is now time for one of our favorite segments around here. We haven't had this in a week or two, feels like, with so much college football. The Betting Commandments with Arky. Arky, enlighten us, oh wise one. What is your betting commandment of the day?
Well, today the betting gods have told me to announce to you that there is another betting commandment that you should be paying attention to. And that, of course, is the observe thy limits. You should know what thy limits are, and you should very much stick to them. And this is a great time of the year to actually sort of talk about that, because I sort of pick a date in every single sport that I go and adjust my limit. But at the very beginning of each year, the limit is the amount of money you're willing to put on a single bet.
Okay.
Right? That's what we're paying attention to. So, like, for example, like in basketball, the NBA, every bet until Christmas Day, that's the arbitrary time I pick, I will bet $25. Right? You know, it's not high roller, it's sort of in the middle, but it's something I'm comfortable with losing if I lose, the kind of thing, because you don't know much about the teams until you learn. Same thing in baseball. I end up choosing June 1st in baseball. College basketball, I wait until December 15th. Just a random day I pick, right, to go above the limits. Very specific. But the thing is, you have to stick with those limits. So if you want to be able to protect yourself and not lose your rear end, you have to say, hey, listen, this is my number, win, lose, or draw. Because here's one of the tempting things. If you get on a hot streak, you're tempted to go ahead and up that limit and say go $50 in the game or $100 in the game. You don't stay disciplined, and that's how you lose over the long term. A lot about sports betting and making money in it is staying disciplined and paying attention to not only your bankroll and the numbers themselves, but also the limits that you have. So observe thy limits. Pick whatever limit you want. If it's $5 a game, $10 a game, it doesn't really matter. You sort of pick your limit, what you're comfortable with losing, and then once you get more comfortable with the games themselves, once you figure out the teams, then you can sort of adjust that limit, or maybe just keep the limit the same. I always increase it once I know more about a team. Like in college football, for example, I choose October the 1st, or the first Saturday in October, because you get through most of the non-conference games and you have a little bit of an idea. So observe thy limits, stay true to them, and they will not betray you in the long run. But again, those limits have to be something that you're comfortable with losing. That's what you always have to consider. Are you comfortable losing this $10 or this $25? And if you are, that's a pretty good limit. If you're not, you probably want to lower that limit. So observe that limit, find a comfortable one for you, and you're going to be okay in the long run, especially if you pay attention to this the show, and especially if you pay attention to 2K. Oh, man, Kayla's hot the last couple of nights. That's someone you need to be following.
I mean, it's true.
Yeah. But that's the thing about sports betting, and I'll be brief with this, is that if you get really hot or if you get really cold, you have a tendency to want to either make that back or try to double it up or make even more. And that's where you sort of get lost because, again, to make money at this, you have to be over 50%, and the vast majority of people are not over 50% picking. In fact, you have to be over 51.5% to make money in it. And it's just really hard to do. That's why you have to pick that limit that you're comfortable with losing, and then to stick with that limit as long as humanly possible, hopefully forever.
I learned that lesson the hard way last week, but we're back on track this week.
That's right.
This might be your most important commandment yet. This is a very important commandment. We don't want any gambling problems. Can go downhill in a hurry. So yeah, set your limits. Arky, what number do you hit after you increase your limit?
I usually just go the increment of 25, so I'll go up to $50 for the next game. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. How high have you gone? Are we allowed to ask that?
How far have I gone on a game?
How high have you gone in a game? What's your number? Or are we not allowed to talk about it? The wife is in hearing distance.
Listen, I'm a very conservative bettor, but I've bet $5,000 on a game before. So.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
There are many more much higher rollers, but I'm not one of these guys that sort of makes that kind of money doing this. I'm not in Vegas doing this professionally. I've paid $5,000. I won the bet, and I feel like I'll never do that again.
You know what? You did well the first time. Why ruin a good thing?
Yeah. Believe me, trust me, a lot of sweat in that game because it took a pick six. It took a pick six at the very end of the game, the last play of the game to get the over. You can imagine. I was watching it at the house by myself. It was it was not a great night, but it turned into a great night. But it was not for a long time.
Well, I'm glad you had a happy ending to that one.
Yeah.
Could have gone south in a hurry.
Thanks for watching the football team, by the way.
All right, Arky, thank you for that important betting commandment. We are now going to move on to our quick hitters of the day. Where are you looking for your quick hitter, Arky?
So I look at number 18, UConn, taking on West Virginia tonight. And West Virginia is a good team. I think both of these teams are 7-1. And West Virginia is getting 2.5 tonight. And I kind of don't get it, right? Like I think UConn is the better team. And you can look at the statistics so far, and both teams have played good to fairly middle teams. So it's sort of kind of hard to judge A for B to sort of figure out what these two teams are. But I feel like everything that I've seen with UConn, and I've watched 3 of their games this year, everything that I pay attention to, they're better at than West Virginia, except for one category, and that's forcing turnovers. West Virginia is a monster at forcing turnovers. They force over 24 turnovers a game. They are a really, really, really good team. But they've always sort of been that under Bob Huggins. That's just sort of what they do. So I look at the fact that it's 2.5. Outside of that, West Virginia is sort of top third of the country type team. Nothing really special. And UConn seems to me right now better. And so despite all the statistics, despite the fact that they're much better in rebounding, they're way, way, way better in rebounding. Despite all of those, I'm using my eye test on this one. And I've only seen the majority of 2 West Virginia games, and it kind of feels like, from what I've seen, I like UConn plus 2.5 tonight. I'll buy it up to 3. But I think UConn probably wins the game outright. So I'll play the plus 3. I'll sprinkle a little on the money line itself. I think UConn's a better team than West Virginia tonight. So I picked UConn plus the 2.5 and 3, and I'll put a little on the money line too, because I think UConn, despite just the ranking itself, I think they're better right now.
All right. I like that. I am also looking at some college basketball action tonight. Number 19, Michigan State, who is 7-2, at Minnesota, who is 7-0. The first conference matchup for these two teams. Right now, MSU is favored by 5.5 with a total of 133.5. Michigan's 2 losses came at the hands of number 3 Kansas and number 6 Baylor. While this will be the first true test for Minnesota this season, although they barely got by Pitt, winning that game by just 1 point. So we'll see. Senior Gabe Brown leads the Spartans in scoring at 12.9 points per game, while on the other side, Jamison Battle is averaging 17.9 points a game for the Golden Gophers. That's the funniest mascot to me, by the way. Can you imagine being a Golden Gopher? This spread does feel a little tricky to me for some reason. As for the totals, though, MSU has combined for this number of 133.5 in 6 of their 9 games, while Minnesota has hit it in just 3 of their 7. Back to that spread. The Spartans are 2-1 against the spread when playing as the 5.5-point favorite and 6-3 on the season. Meanwhile, the GGs, that's what I'm going to call them now, are 1-0 against the spread and as a 5.5-point underdog, and have covered in 4 of their 7 games so far this season. Strength of schedule obviously definitely goes to MSU here. I just don't know what an undefeated team at home is capable of doing in terms of playing it close. The closest Michigan State has played a team this season was to Loyola by 3. And, well, we all know how they love to make an appearance come tourney time. Shout out to Sister Jean. So I think I'm on the fence. I do think, though, I'm going to lean Minnesota at plus 5.5. And I'm not super confident about it, but they're at home, first conference game, undefeated. So that's my final answer. Minnesota plus 5.5. We should probably move on to the next game before I change my mind, though.
I think it's not a bad play. The Big Ten is sort of a loaded basketball conference, and we talked about Michigan State at the very beginning of the season, how much they lost as far as graduation. Josh Langford's on the Big Ten Network, by the way. He was on that team last year. He's now an analyst on in the Big Ten Network right now, and they're a good basketball team because they've started to figure out who they are right now, and they needed some time to sort of get into that role. And so, yeah, this is not a bad spot for Minnesota here because, again, Michigan State hasn't had that conference game yet either, and Minnesota's a tough physical team. All
right. And last but not least, our games to look out for. Arky, what are you looking forward to coming up this weekend?
So coming up tomorrow is...
I stand corrected.
Well, we're close, and we might be able to get this on the show tomorrow. Depends on what the number actually comes out at, because we don't know the number yet. That number hasn't dropped yet, at least as far as before the show went up. Is number 11 Texas going to number 25 Seton Hall? And both these teams have been very, very clearly very good, despite you can tell by their rankings. But also, if this number is somewhere where I think it's going to be, somewhere in the 4.5, 5 to 6 neighborhood for Texas, I think that's a good spot to jump on for Seton Hall because of Seton Hall, how good they've been. Not but just based on the wins they've got this year, but they've been really tough defensively. They've been a really tough team to get the ball shot over this year and to get around this year. And forgive me for saying this, but I've got a rager for defensive teams. Like, I know that they can travel. I know that they can play. and I know that I can get points for them based on value. And if that's the case, if this number opens up later tonight at around 5, 5.5, 6, maybe even more, who knows, based on what the number is, but I think it's going to be around 4.5 to 6 or so. If I get it on that high end, that's probably a good spot for me to take Seton Hall tonight. So we might be able to revisit this tomorrow on the show to see where that number gets to. But I'll be very fascinated to see what it drops at tonight, because Seton Hall might be a live dog there.
Our producer Lauren's going to love that.
We got you, LOC.
All right, I am looking ahead to the NFL. I love this good old Bears versus Packers rivalry that some years has been better than others. We only have a few games to choose from this weekend, so looking at Bears-Packers, I actually went to this rivalry game in 2016 at Soldier Field, and it was the 5th coldest game in Bears history. I have never been so cold in my life. Luckily, I don't think it's going to be that cold for this Sunday night matchup. Bears are 4-8, 2-4 on the road. Packers 9-3, 5-0 at home. Green Bay is first in the NFC North, and Chicago is not, sitting just behind the Lions in third. Green Bay is the 12.5-point favorite as it stands right now, with a total here of 44. Bless the Bears, they've won 1 of their last 5, while head coach Matt Nagy is rumored to be on the chopping block following this highly probable loss to that the Bears will suffer to the Packers on Sunday. The Packers, however, have won 3 of their last 5. Their last loss came at the hands of Minnesota 2 weeks ago, which now feels a little weird considering the Vikings just gave Detroit their first win. Green Bay will be entering Sunday's matchup coming off a bye, which is good news for them as they needed some regrouping. But under Matt LaFleur, the team is 2-2 following bye weeks. I mean, he's no Andy Reid, but who can be? I do feel obligated to take the Packers at minus 12.5. Aside from the obvious, they have the NFL best of 10-2 against the spread this season. But the Bears can play teams close. So, aside from their loss to the Browns and the Bucks and their win over the Raiders, Chicago has played teams within 11 points or less. That actually was very surprising to me. 11 points or less. So they're playing them close. They're just losing. Green Bay, on the other hand, has won just 3 games this season by more than 13 points. And in their first game against Chicago this season, beat them by just 10. Just still 10, but the Bears are 4-8 against the spread and have covered in just 1 of their last 7. So aside from the spread, it is going to be cold. Not as cold as the one I was at, but the temps will be hanging around 34 degrees for the time being. So I would lean the under as far as the total goes. But with that said, the Packers have combined for this total of 44 in 7 games this season, and the Bears in just 4. I do feel kind of silly saying this out loud, but I will be taking the Bears, Arky, at plus 12.5 in this one on Sunday. Both teams are used to the cold, so whether that's not going to be as much of an issue as I think some people think, I am a little nervous that Green Bay had that extra week of rest, but Matt Nagy is going to be coaching his little heart out, and seeing as how the Bears have not had a disastrous loss, aside from the 2 I mentioned, I think they can play them within that 12.5. So I'm riding with Chicago.
I don't hate it. I just told you how much I love defenses. Like these two, the defense for Chicago has not quit. Like they continue to play with an amazing heart and effort. They just have a toughness about them. Like they really, really still are in it. I don't know about the offense. And that's probably because Matt Nagy's calling the plays. As far as the Packers are concerned, they're one of the best defenses in the league and been there the entire season this year. They aren't doing it on offense as much as we're used to them doing on offense. So, I don't think the 12.5 plus 12.5 is a bad play for Chicago. I'd probably lean the under at this point because I think both teams are going to be super physical in that game. It's going to be really hard, despite the fact that Aaron Rodgers completely owns and dominates the Chicago Bears.
True.
It doesn't mean he always covers the spread, right? So, he can win, but you win by 10, for example, and that's a plenty win, a 24-14 type game. Yeah. Right.
You mentioned the Bears play with a lot of heart. That's all that really matters at the end of the season, right? Is that the teams played with a lot of heart?
Well, some people like wins, but heart can work.
I like wins. Heart's great too, I guess. Yeah. All right, that's going to do it for our show today here at OutKick Bets. Don't forget to make your picks at FanDuel.com/OutKick. That is Arky Shea. I am Kayla Knierim. Best of luck in your betting, and we will see you right back here tomorrow. Have a good one.